Greetings, welcome to the latest of my deep dive videos and also to the new year. I'm going to unpack today the Cancer full moon or wolf moon, which occurs on the 3rd of January worldwide. I'll share with you shortly on screen all the exact timings of the major cities, but at 13 degrees and 1 minute, it's in the second decan of the sign of Cancer, which is ruled by Mars, which adds some more intensity, but it's also very close to the fixed star Sirius, the brightest in the sky. And of course the moon rules the sign of Cancer, so a much more intense, potentially emotional energy. On the other side of the heavens we have a stellium in the practical worldly sign of Capricorn, very much to do with our physical reality. And Venus and Mars, either side of the Sun, have also been joined by Mercury, very much to do with how we think about our connection around work, ambitions and goals, whereas the moon in Cancer is much more how we feel things. Now the moon's opposition to Venus can actually be very nice and create a generosity of spirit, but the moon opposite Mars, well, that can be quite testing. So I think the next 2 weeks could be quite turbulent if we're not feeling it when it comes to our work, how we have lots of obligations or responsibilities, if something feels a bit rigid or stuck and we don't feel our sole purpose within it, that's where this full moon can be more testing. Now, because it's at 13 degrees and 01, as I mentioned, it's sub-ruled by Mars. So Mars in itself can be a more impatient, direct influence. In the sign of Capricorn, Mars is actually exalted, so it's a good place for Mars to be. And if we are wanting to set our intentions for the year ahead, in terms of physical progress, well, that's all well and dandy. So I think this is a full moon that's saying to us all, don't forget about how we feel and let our sixth sense guide even those ambitions. Now I'm going to share with you on the screen the event chart from a zodiacal viewpoint, but also a Placidus viewpoint, and then I'll go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces, which you can relate to in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please help it to continue to thrive and do so now. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order and get 50% off, as well as my Life Roadmap Report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro26 at the checkout. So on the screen now I'm showing the exact timings across the world. And first of all, let's take a look at the solar zodiacal chart. So you can see there's the sun at 13 degrees and 1. On one side we've got Mars, on the other side we've got Venus. Now if you're a cardinal sign, that's Aries, Cancer, Libra or Capricorn, or you have placements in your natal chart between around about 10 degrees and 16 degrees of a cardinal sign, you're going to feel this event that much more keenly because of the angularity that energy will create. But in terms of the chart, you can see if we are wanting to be very single-minded and plan in a very strategic way, or we want to achieve something which takes patience and persistence, very much Capricornian energy. We can also be conscious of where the dispositor is, Saturn, the ruler. Tucked away in the 12th house, we may have to dig deep in order to realise those hopes in the year ahead. But there's the moon, pretty close to Jupiter, in the 4th solar house, and that's the juggle I feel, particularly in the opposition with Mars. The moon opposite Mars can create an impatience, a brusqueness, and because the moon in Cancer can be more sensitive and needs to be more protective, we may encounter someone over the next fortnight who's got a might is right attitude, who demands we do it their way, and they don't really care if we don't feel the same. So those are the energies that I think we can expect from a zodiacal viewpoint. I'm going to share with you now the event chart from a Placidus viewpoint. I base this on Greenwich and Universal Time because of the prime meridian. The ascendant is 23 degrees in Aquarius, but that means that cluster of Capricornian energy, the stellium, ends up ironically in the 11th house, which has an echo of that Aquarius energy, very much to do with our network, how we're all connected, maybe our higher hopes that go beyond the material plane. So that's where perhaps we can use the energy of Capricorn in a positive way, because that's about application, step by step application. And sometimes if we really want to achieve something, it is about the amount of effort we put in, and not necessarily just assuming it's going to fall into our laps. But maybe what we're going to experience over the next couple of weeks collectively from this event chart is maybe juggling the demands we have in our situations, and also maybe we could find ourselves at a little bit of a crossroads, and I feel the crossroads could be around work. And the reason I believe that is not so much this event in isolation, but more about how the world of work is changing. Obviously technology, automation, robotics, all the things, AI, all the things that we're much more conscious of, they can have their benefits of course, but they may be having an impact on the particular area that you work in, sector you worked in for some time, and there may be a need to adapt. And I think for us all, we're going to be feeling that. But because of the 11th house energy of that collective in Capricorn, we're not going to be alone. So the more we can reach out to others, share experiences, give each other support, the more that can be a very positive thing. Now, just to say that fixed start of Sirius, if you do have your birthday from around about the 5th through to the 9th of July, you're someone who's blessed by that Sirius energy. And in terms of the sun, that really can give you gorgeous leadership credentials. Although Cancer has a reputation of being very much to do with the emotional domain and being protective, a lot of Cancer people can be hugely successful, and one of the gifts they have is by being able to tune in to how people feel. But sometimes I feel with Cancer people there can be a reluctance to engage with tension, and one of the reflexes can be to withdraw. And I think because Mars is opposite, maybe over the next couple of weeks, whether it is for a Cancer person, whether it is for someone who's got Cancerian energy, or a lot of 4th house in your natal chart, you may find yourself being a little bit bolder if someone's taking liberties and pushing in and not respecting your boundaries. So in that sense, I think Mars can be very helpful. But for us all, whatever we're contemplating in terms of a goal, and it doesn't have to just be around work, we all have different ambitions. We just need to make sure that our inner voice is happy with the decision that we're making. Please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect with this Wolf Moon over the next fortnight. So Aries, as you've made your way into 2026 with your ruler Mars in such a visible part of your chart, that's pushing you to have the appetite to raise your profile and really go for it around any big goals you might have. What's not to like? Well, this event just provides a little bit of a challenge because there is some cosmic lag. Until Neptune and Saturn move respectively on the 26th of January and the 14th of February back into your sign, come together on the 18th of February, and that gives you a platform to springboard forwards when you're very much more in the present. Those two are still occupying a much more thoughtful part of your chart, one which can make you quite sensitive, but in a different way from the energy of this full moon, which is very much to do with your home, emotion and family energy. So it's more psychological, it may be more to do with the past, it may even be to do with self-doubt. And because Neptune, the planet of dreams, is still in a square with Mercury, newly joined up with the posse in Capricorn, Even if you have got that goal, there may be something within you that's a little bit unsure that you can actually achieve it. So that's where you can turn this particular full moon to your advantage, because at your absolute best, when you really want to do something, you listen to your instincts and take action very rapidly. But I feel the next 2 weeks is a time for you to just not be too much in a hurry, because later on in January, your ability to network and connect with people, find and build alliances, is going to build absolutely brilliantly. And you're even going to have a great opportunity on the 8th of January when Venus and Mars come together in an exact conjunction. You also have the Sun and Mars coming together in a cazimi on the 9th of January, and that too is fabulous for really strutting your stuff in a self-confident way. But if you are feeling a little bit tentative, if you're wanting to apply for a new job, starting your own business, not quite sure what your next step would be, don't beat yourself up. If you do, just take a breath and give yourself a little bit more space in order to gain traction into this new year. And if it seems that other people are hurtling forwards at the speed of light, I don't feel that that will be the reality for many of us, because it is going to be an intriguing start to the year, and until Mercury particularly moves forwards and fully away from the right angle to Neptune, there can be some confusing signals. So to boil it all down, it's about staying in touch with how you feel, and as much as there may be a goal that you're wanting to reach, just know you can reach it this year. It's all about timing, and that timing doesn't have to be absolutely straight away. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order, and get 50% off, as well as my Life Roadmap Report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that are played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. So Taurus, on this particular full moon, I feel you could find yourself feeling restless. And it's intriguing because the planets are conspiring this year, including your ruler Venus, as you enter 2026, to be up for some change. And if you do some different things, it can be hugely stimulating and exciting, whether it's around relocation, whether it's around travel, new interests, higher education, learning about a foreign language. All of these things can really bring you to life. But you might find yourself actually having a conversation with someone over the next couple of weeks, and they don't quite see it the same way as you. And part of the reason for that is Neptune's shimmering role in your sector of friendship. So there may be someone who you're not necessarily going to get an echo of your enthusiasm back, and that could give you a degree of self-doubt. The other thing to consider when we have a third, the moon, third house, ninth house, the cluster in the sign of Capricorn energy, that is a polarity, and the third house energy of the moon, even though it's at home in Cancer, can make very fast decisions, and that is a little bit counterintuitive for you. So the planets in your case that are in your ninth house, that Capricornian energy, is very much about having bravery and boldness to shake things up. So what I'd say to you, you can do that, but if you do have a discussion with someone who doesn't see things the same way, has a different philosophy, beliefs, you could find yourself in some highly charged discussions, particularly with the moon and Mars in a direct opposition. And if you are looking to travel anywhere, I would plan things meticulously, because the more you can enjoy the scenic route, particularly if you're driving, the better it will be. So I wouldn't rush anything, whether it's around a contract, a travel plan, booking up for a holiday. Just give it a few more days for you to work into the new year. I certainly feel when your ruler Venus comes into an exact conjunction, the cazimi, with the sun on the 6th of January, that can be a time when things really start to click into place for you. But initially, I think you could experience a little bit of confusion or a misunderstanding with someone based on this particular unique Cancer full moon this year. You can order your personal unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order and get 50% off, as well as my life roadmap report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. So Gemini, you're an air sign, and communication for you is very often at an intellectual level. You can cut through things very, very quickly. You can flex, pivot, and seize opportunities in a very rapid way. But all of us needs a base in our situations. And the moon is the planet which is very much to do with what gives us comfort and security. So for you, this is a second house full moon. So it has a flavour of the energies of Taurus, which is ironically where the moon is exalted. But because of the cluster of energy in Capricorn, including your ruler Mercury, that's pushing you at some level to evolve. Is there something that you're reluctant to evolve with? Over the next 2 weeks, it may be about balancing the books after the cost of the festivities. It may be that you're attracted to someone, pulled towards them in some kind of mesmeric way, but you may be unsure whether their values match up with yours. It could be there's going to be a stubborn standoff, maybe because someone's values don't align with yours. Or is it that you could be resistant to change because there's something deep within your emotional psychology that doesn't quite feel right? And that's the energy you do need to tune into, because this event may be very much dominated by Mars and Venus being opposite the moon, but it's your ruler that we need to be conscious of, and that's compromised by the energy of Neptune. And Neptune remains in the part of your chart for now through to the 26th of January, which is very much to do with your goals and ambitions in the worldly context, a kind of echo of Capricorn. But for you, the Capricorn energy is all about scorpionic vibe. So it's about where you're most deeply invested. It could be around a relationship, finances, a sexually intimate attraction. And of course, those energies can be very intense, because we've got Mars in the mix, and also the moon is in the part of her journey through the sign of Cancer, which is sub-ruled by Mars. There's much more intensity. So something you're attached to could be challenged over the next couple of weeks. A person, a lifestyle choice, a pattern that you have, and you may be asked or find yourself wanting to prize yourself off that, but the moon in Cancer may make you a little bit defensive and resistant to that change. You can order your personal unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order and get 50% off, as well as my life roadmap report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. So Cancer, you have a particular appreciation of lunations being ruled by the moon, but this one with Mars directly face to face with your ruler, the moon, and also the moon being in the second decan of your sign, sub-ruled by Mars, I think just amps up a lot of potential for tension where you don't feel that other people are respecting your boundaries. Because there's no doubt about it, through 2026, the fact that Venus, Mars and the Sun have all been together at the start of this year does give you an awesome opportunity to build very positive relationships. And if you're single, someone significant can come into your life. The catch, however, maybe because on this event, Mercury in the 7th house is very much about listening, but Neptune is squaring it still, and that can create distortion. And also perhaps it's more about where you need to be a bit firmer about what's acceptable to you or not, because Venus in the 7th house can make us very diplomatic, which is a good thing, and create more harmony. But if we have so much harmony and keeping other people happy, but we're not keeping ourselves happy, that's not an equitable balance. So that's what you're being asked to think about over the next couple of weeks. I have to say, over the next few days, there is a series of very positive links for you. The GEMINIs, the initial ones with Venus and Mars, and those can amplify your desirability, whether it is as a business contact, whether it is as a personal friendship, whether it is in a romantic context. But you will need to feel that you're not trying too hard, that it just feels right at a soul level. So if there's a relationship you're in at the moment where you don't feel heard, seen or respected, it may be something that you do need to address over the next 2 weeks. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order, and get 50% off, as well as my life roadmap report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. So Leo, as you come into year 2026, all the practical strands of your situation are very much to the fore. Now, if you're keen to change your job, to move to one that's a bit more satisfying, particularly if it provides help or services to others, or you want to get a little fitter or be more conscious of what you're eating and drinking, or you want to delegate some of your responsibilities, particularly domestically, to the other people who may have been depending on you a little too much, well, it would all chime with that planetary activity in the sign of Capricorn. But what the moon for you in the 12th house is asking you to do is make sure you stay attuned to the parts of your situation that could be a little more tender. Now, that may be at times our fears, it may be the shadow side of a situation, it may be at work that there are people that you have to exist with side by side, but you don't necessarily enjoy the atmosphere as much as you could. Or if you are focusing on becoming more virtuous in some ways, you're just being asked with this particular full moon to be aware of the psychological dimension of your physical vitality. So if you are feeling a bit run down, not quite as energized as you would like, don't ignore some of those things from your past, your experience, or what's going on in terms of the atmospheric side of your situation, because that could be feeding into a lower amount of vitality and enthusiasm than is ideal. If you're really not enjoying something at the moment and it has become a bit of a drudgery to fulfill obligations and tasks, you feel weighed down, overwhelmed, I think this is a full moon which is asking you to seriously think about making some practical changes to rebalance that part of your situation that often people can be a little reluctant to talk about, which is our emotions. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order, and get 50% off, as well as my life roadmap report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. So Virgo, that old saying that we can't please all of the people all of the time is what comes up for me on this year's particular Cancer full moon. It gives you a crossroads moment, to be honest, I feel that Pluto, ever since the middle of November 2024, full time, has been pushing you to think about your work. So for example, because you can be so conscientious and invested in keeping things ordered and working meticulously well, if that daily routine lost a little bit of its luster, I feel that you're being asked on this full moon to think about how you can reorientate your future plan. And that's the energy of the moon, the 11th house. It's also about your higher purpose. Whereas the energy of the sign of Capricorn, including your ruler Mercury, is much more about bringing some joy, some pleasure, and some individual characteristics to your situation. It's also about what's important to you, whereas the moon position is much more to do with your connection to others. So one of the things that I think is important over the next 2 weeks is to not pulverize your passion in order to not upset the proverbial celestial apple cart, because someone might feel a bit pushed out. So if there is a particular friendship you've got or a network of people that in some ways is a bit inhibiting for you showcasing what makes you really talented, well, I feel that you are being asked to really overcome any inner resistance you might have, to being a bit more edgy, to being a bit more daring, because the cluster of energy in the sign of Capricorn is much more to do with speculation, risk. It's much more about stepping outside those daily routines. And all through year 2026, if you seize the moment, you can reorientate your overall situation in such an exciting way. So don't be held back by friendships. Don't be held back by the fact that not everybody will necessarily agree with what you might propose. So for example, if you've got a pretty steady job, but it is starving you of that excitement, I think you're being asked on this event to really go for it and be very much in touch with what you want from your long-term future that provides true inspiration. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order and get 50% off, as well as my Life Roadmap Report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that are played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. So Libra, the most important thing for you is balance, and that need for equilibrium is going to be reflected all through year 2025 by the foundational part of your situation, and that for many of us is where we live. So with Venus, your ruler, very close to the thrust of Mars and the Sun, along with the quick-witted Mercury, as you enter into this year, reshaping your home environment may be a big part of your plan. Now for some Librans that may be by relocating. It could be about altering an existing abode. It may be decoratively, it could be some physical improvements. It may be that the changes are more at a deeper emotional level, but it's where you can feel quite active and engaged as this new year begins. The moon, on the other hand, is in the most visible part of its journey. Your emotions can be much closer to the surface. You can often project a very calm exterior, a sense of elegance, and what the moon might do over the next couple of weeks around some emotional issues that are not going quite to plan, you may find that it's harder to disguise how you feel. If something does come up that you find quite triggering, it's very important not to judge yourself. However much you may want to maintain that impeccable exterior, just know, like everyone, you do have the right to perhaps be a little bit more blunt, to the point. And when it comes to work-life balance, which is something we're all grappling with all of the time, that could be something that may engage you most of all over the next 2 weeks. So for example, if you work from home, but it's difficult to get separation from the domestic sphere, that may be something you can try to refine. If, however, you work somewhere, but you don't really find it works for you in terms of your senses it doesn't feel so comfortable to you, maybe you're going to use the energy of Mars being opposite this particular full moon to take action to change something, even if it does mean that your balance temporarily does go out of kilter in order to get to where you really need to be. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order, and get 50% off, as well as my life roadmap report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. Scorpio, year 2026 is definitely going to be a time when you have a real passion and enthusiasm for your ideas, and that's something that other people can find really quite infectious in a positive way, and I mean figuratively. But that enthusiasm is partly because your ruler, your traditional ruler Mars, is in the mix in Capricorn, but also the planet of communication, Mercury, has joined up with the cluster, including Mars, the Sun and Venus. So you have the charm of Venus, the desire of Mars, the quickness of Mercury, and the innate energy of the Sun. But that cluster of three players, not Mercury, is all opposite the moon. And the moon's in the part of your chart that's much more to do with your higher views, the more spiritual dimension, if you like. And you could encounter someone over the next 2 weeks and have a real difference of opinion. But what Venus can do in this mix is just remind you that sometimes, however much we're invited to an argument, we don't have to attend every single one. So there may be someone you encounter who's rather frustrating because the way they share their point of view, it might not align to something you feel very strongly and passionately about. It could be you're traveling somewhere and you encounter some glitches, delays, frustrations. I think that's entirely possible. Or it may just be that if you're feeling a bit closed in a situation and you want some more physical space to move around, if that's difficult to come by, that also can create a greater sense of frustration too. And the frustration comes on this year's Cancer full moon because of Mars being opposite the moon, which can make people much more frustrated, much more quickly, but also because the position of the moon is in the second decan of the sign of Cancer, which is sub-ruled by Mars. So when it comes to the emotional sphere of the sharing of ideas, travel, your philosophies, all of those things can be challenged if you're a little bit too hasty. So this is going to be a fabulous year for you to move around, perhaps get more physically active, articulate your ideas, but over the next couple of weeks, a little bit of a pause before sharing how you feel can actually be better than being too urgent. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order, and get 50% off, as well as my life roadmap report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. So Sagittarius, year 2026 gives you a higher than average chance to improve your finances. Also, it can be a time when you firm up the foundations in your world. After what has been, at times, a little bit of a chaotic last few years, because of Uranus being in the 6th house, it means that routines have been hard to come by. Saturn over the last couple of years, the ruler of Capricorn, has been in the part of your chart to do with home, emotion and family. It's possible accommodation has been more expensive, or there's been some repairs, or you've moved, or there has been family demands that have all weighed in on you. This is a full moon moon, however, that just asked you to be mindful, even if things are starting to head in the right direction, that it's important to balance the books. And at this early part of the year, obviously the sales are calling out to us, and there may be some very tempting bargains that are very hard to resist, because that's one of the things about your solar return, Sagittarius. All throughout year 2026, you could have a greater sense of desire. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but it's just about finding that balance. So the moon's in the part of your chart to do with compulsion. It's also in the part of your chart to do with shared finances. It may also be to do with matrimonial finances. If you are going through a situation where you need to reschedule past costs, debts, that may be something you need to be very proactive about over the next 2 weeks. So think about the Two of Coins in the tarot, and you get the right idea of how to work with this particular full moon. But I think your prospects are still very hopeful for the year ahead in terms of your earning power. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order, and get 50% off, as well as my life roadmap report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that are played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. Capricorn, your great gift is that you work patiently away towards long-term goals, and that diligence and persistence is part of your gift. But at the very start of this year, your big opportunity is to seize the moment in a very direct way, to take a firmer grip on your life direction, to not be influenced by other people so much. And if you really are feeling a burst of excitement, confidence and thrust, the full moon in your opposite sign could introduce someone else's voice over the next couple of weeks who might not be quite aligned to what you want to do, and that could be profoundly frustrating. But try to keep them in the loop, because the moon, after all, is in your 7th house, very much about equilibrium, balance and harmony. And even if you are very single-minded, some diplomacy can work wonders. So if you're inclusive and tell people what you're trying to achieve and explain it, there's much more chance they're going to come with you over this next 2 weeks. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order, and get 50% off, as well as my life roadmap report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that are played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. So Aquarius, you may be finding yourself since the turn of the year a little bit quieter, maybe more reflective. The full moon just reminds you that even if there are some things that you want to work through and process, decompress from, perhaps the festivities, that it is important to keep the organisation, the daily routine, and make sure your domestic sphere, for example, and work are all working as best as they can. So if you become a little too introspective, you could take your eye off a detail, and someone, but particularly at work, could seize on an oversight with relish and actually rather enjoy something that goes awry for you. So don't give your rivals anything to feast on. It's important to be as metronomically organised as normal, even if you're finding it a little bit more difficult to meet those everyday demands, because just working through those deeper emotions and having some moments of quiet, which most Aquarius people really appreciate, is absolutely fine, but there is still those demands that do need to be met. You can order your personal, unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order, and get 50% off, as well as my life roadmap report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that are played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written zodiac forecast. please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout. So Pisces, this is a full moon which asks you to question whether your direction of travel, your long-term plan, the alliances you have, the network and friendships really matches what gives you a sense of soul purpose. And if you're not sure, over the next couple of weeks could be a great time to take soundings, talk to different people, get different viewpoints, because essentially the moon in your fellow water sign of Cancer wants you to really enjoy what you're hoping for the future. Enjoy the connections you have. If you're in a romantic relationship, do you see it being for the very long term? If there is any kind of doubt, it's a full moon which asks you to really investigate where you could perhaps make some changes, just ponder where things could be a little different, because later on in January you may find yourself becoming a lot more reflective. So if there are some big resets you might need to make, this is definitely a time to think about that very carefully. You can order your personal unique transit forecast for the year ahead and get 12 months from the time of your order, and get 50% off, as well as my Life Roadmap Report, which will give you searing insights to the patterns that are played out in your life so far. You also get my free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written Zodiac forecast. Please see the link below and apply Astro 26 at the checkout.